What's up, everybody?
My name is Anthony Irvin.
You beat yourself?
Yeah,
Yeah, CB myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Jim Green.
Don't even need a hit of traffic light.
Okay, good.
Welcome to
One set. Like I said, I wanted to catch that, obviously.
Yeah, it was a good game.
I mean, Miami at least took the lead a few times, and it was like not. It wasn't like Denver just crushed them and maintained like a 15 point. Like I think the one game they were like basically 9 to 15 points ahead like the entire time, or like Miami will come back and maybe be down by like 7 or 8, but then Denver will just hit a couple threes and it's like, nope, forget about it, right?
Yeah.
This game, I think Denver got like they were anxious early on. I think definitely second and part of the actually I didn't see the first part of the third quarter because I flipped over to the Phillies game. I was flipping back between the Phillies game and Raw, and I just was like, oh, I didn't even realize that like halftime had already ended and the third quarter. And I was like, it could be a large deficit at the beginning for the entire third quarter. And then you get like the real game is like if it's close and there's still 6 minutes, that's when it's like, okay. And that's how it was tonight, basically, right?
Yeah. It was a good like balance between both the teams going back and forth. Like I said, you never want to see like a finals series in like a sweep. I think we both said we knew it wasn't going to be a sweep, but it was a good, at least, competitive series. It's not like one team dominated over the other. I mean, obviously the Nuggets were way more dominant, but Miami gave them like a lot of good games, and Miami held in there for the whole game 5 until like the last, little bit of that third quarter into the fourth quarter. They started, really, challenging them.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going back 22 years when like the Sixers got the one win against the Lakers.
Yeah.
And you said you're pretty sure that was game 1, right?
I'm pretty sure the Sixers took game 1 and everybody's like, oh man, I mean they might beat LA, but then second game came out, they came out and just whooped them. And then that was it. I think that's all Kobe needed to see. It was just that kind of sparked his
Right. Like, okay, we should take them a little bit more seriously now, right? And then just turn around
he pulled the Jordan. He's like, I took that personally.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I don't think that like Miami getting the one win was like exactly resemblant of that, because I think I think they definitely showed a lot more fight in them in the games with the Nuggets. I think the one game I was just referring to where they were ahead like almost the entire time. The other 3 games. 3 games? No, the other. Oh, yeah. The other 3 games that Denver won, it was close. Like, if not back and forth, it was like Denver was ahead by like 4 or 6 most of the time, or Heat would rally and be in the lead for a bit and then they would fall back again, kind of thing. Definitely put up a good fight. And like I said, when we did our picks, you wanted Jimmy Butler to get that win. I agree. I would have liked that for him, and I think it'll happen. But didn't they say he was the oldest on the court? Did they say he was 37?
No, there was somebody else on the Miami Heat that it was their they were the oldest on the court, and they were, I think, the oldest on the one of the oldest guys in the finals, and he was, I think, one of the longest that he's been on one single team throughout his whole career. He never got traded. He's always been on the Miami Heat throughout his whole career. I forget the guy's name.
Gotcha.
But I think he got a couple minutes in, game 2, game 3. Again, can't really remember the guy's name. But no, it wasn't. Jimmy Butler's probably maybe second to third oldest in the group, probably.
Yeah, he's 33. He'll be 34 in September. So it's kind of like, especially when he's like at that age where it's like, come on, we want him to get like one win. Like if he can win one, then I think he'll just be like, all right, I got here. And like, he is definitely one of those guys that 100% deserves it, right? He's just so good at what he does. And it's like, our friend Mike, one of our friends, Mike. Sup, Mikes? How are you?
Sup, Mikes?
Sup, Mikes? He is like the biggest, like the dumbest decision was that we got rid of Jimmy Butler. He was like, we as in the 76ers, right? And I don't know if that is because
dumbest mistake we made.
I don't know if that's because like the Sixers club was like, yeah, okay, send him over there so that we can get a couple younger guys rather, like in a trade, or if it was like Butler opted out. Like, I don't know the details of all of that. Just we didn't even
unless they
have
couldn't
him.
pay him, or it was only a year.
I was going to say we only had him for like a season, didn't we?
Yeah, it was just that one. I think we got him in the middle of the season, or we had gotten him for the full season. I'm not sure if it was a full season or like a quarter of the season, and we just didn't re-sign him. I think either we just couldn't pay him for a salary for the year, or we wanted to, rely on Embiid and Ben Simmons, and we all know how that worked out. So,
yeah, not great. I think
not great.
Cheyenne asked me, I think, yesterday. She was like, do you think Harden's going? I was like, I think he's going, honestly. And she was like, I wouldn't be surprised if Embiid went. And I was like, now, hold on. He did just win the MVP. I think he at least sticks around another season. And if like,
I don't think they're going to try to trade him unless there's some type of big thing on the floor. But I think I think they'll let Harden walk before they'll let Embiid walk, because it seems like Harden has a lot of other options on the field to be able to see, okay, he wants to go this place, that place. He's just going to go to the Sixers. Hey, I got these other offers. Either you match it or I walk. And if they match it,
or I'm out.
Or if I'm out. So I think Embiid. I mean, I think a lot of people would probably not mind if he walks at this point, because he was the front runner of that process pretty much. But I think they'll give him another season, but I really don't see any progress coming from him. I don't think it's not like he has the Jalen Hurts mindset where he's like, this is my first taste of championship experience. So I'm not going to, mope and hang my head. I'm going to learn from this, work hard in the off season, come back next season and prove that I need to be there again. So I don't think Embiid has that mindset to, think, okay, I need to improve on this off season, come back better conditioned, because he's had a lot of time to do that. And I've said that on the podcast before, that I think he has never came in 100% conditioned into any season.
Yeah. I mean, he seems to go out on injury, and not like major injuries, but he seems to just be like missing this amount of time here for this silly little broken nail kind of thing. Right. And I think Embiid is at least basically consistent with as much points as he puts up in a game. He's usually 30 plus, right? Like that's that whereas Harden, like I think it was game one. I think it was game one against the Celtics that Embiid didn't play, and Harden put up like 45 points. And then he decided not to show up for like games 4, 5, and 6. And it's just like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Right.
Like,
yeah. So, I mean, again, Harden's been kind of like one of those players that was in the same boat as, like you just said, being consistent. I mean, he'll have some on games and then he'll be off. He'll be on. He'll be off. Embiid, he has a couple games that he's on. He'll get hurt. He'll be out of a game. He'll come back, have an off game, be on, off, injured, on, off, injured. Like, and he's just never been consistent in a season. And, and players are prone to getting injured, having off games. I'm not saying you have to be on every game, but the fact of being more consistent with being, really on your game. I mean, you're at the top level of playing in professional basketball. You should be able to, if you're in that limelight, if you are, saying you are the MVP that you are, you should have had a better series than what you did. And leading your team. So, that's not what an MVP. I mean, again, I just think he cried himself all the way to that MVP because he just wanted it for clout. But,
Yeah, I agree.
But we got the Jokovic who got the MVP for the finals. So he got his he got his finals MVP. So he is definitely worthy. I mean, he's going to be a monster. I think the Denver Nuggets are, I didn't get to really pay attention much to the regular season, but seeing them in this playoff season, again, I mean, this is, we're recording this the night that they won, and this is going to be coming out the Friday, a couple days later. So, congratulations again to the Denver Nuggets, the NBA champions. They're a young team. I mean, not a full young team. There are some. I think there's one or two guys that are pretty seasoned on the team, but it's mostly a consistently younger team. And I think that's why LeBron couldn't really run with the Nuggets because he can't really run too much with those young guys anymore. And so I think they're going to be around for another couple. They might be the next Warriors type of thing. I don't think they'll go that many championships, but I think they'll, I can see them picking up another one or two for sure. Because Jokovic is pretty young,
I
too,
think
so.
Yeah, Nikola Jokic. He's 28 years old. I'm just looking up his stats now.
And that's decently young for an NBA age. When you're getting into close to your, mid 30s, like 33, 34, that's pretty old in basketball, depending on when you come in the league.
Right. The one, I think his name was Murray on the Nuggets. Just the two of them were like tag team in the Heat a lot of the night. And granted, Heat was coming back with some threes out of nowhere that it was like it kept like pushing the needle and like really decreasing the score differential. So it was a fun game overall. From you could tell both teams were playing like at like the best they absolutely could. They you could, and that's why watching like playoff anything, especially a championship game, you see people playing and fighting for their lives kind of thing. And that is exciting. Granted, like I said, I don't have stock in either of the teams. I just wanted the Nuggets to win because they had never won. For them, congrats
46 years.
Congrats to them getting their first win in franchise history. I hope that pulls a lot more eyes on the Nuggets at this point, because I feel like you said in your post, it was like you never thought you'd see the day because Nuggets were never like a super strong team, right?
They were a trash team back when I was a kid. They were like, they were like, 8th seed, okay, see you later, bye, see you next year.
Yes.
So when I saw that they were like number 1 this year, when they were like ranked number 1 in their conference, I was like, holy whoopsie! The Denver Nuggets are number 1 in the Western Conference. Who's this team? So,
Right.
and they swept the Lakers, which I was frankly impressed with.
I thought the Lakers got one win on them.
Nope, they swept the Lakers.
Okay, well, that should have been telling right from the get-go, like, all right. But it was fun. It was fun. It was fun to watch, like, Jokic and LeBron, like, because, they're both superhuman, right, with their height.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't believe the draft is like in 2 weeks. I'm like, I didn't know it was that close to the end of the season ending. Okay.
Yeah, it's usually pretty quick. Like, it's not like football where it's like really far after the season. Usually after the championship, most of the times it's usually like 2 or 3 weeks after the championship.
Yeah, I want to say the NFL draft this year was about 2.5 months after the Super Bowl. It was like Super Bowl was the second weekend in the second Sunday in February, and then the draft was like the last weekend of April kind of thing. So yeah, I was surprised to see that the NBA draft was so soon, so quick. I will say, back to we were talking about like the Sixers next season and Embiid, and it's always interesting when like an organization like fires their head coach and then decides, oh yeah, we're gonna bring in this new person, and like we expect big things to change, and sometimes that's just not the case, right? I mean, we we got rid of Andy Reid. Or I don't know if Andy Reid decided to leave on his own accord. Like I don't know if the organization, and this is because that was in a time where I really wasn't paying attention to sports like that.
Yeah, I think we let go of Andy Reid.
Okay, well, and
we let go of Chip. That was a disaster. But yeah, and then I mean, Andy Reid. Andy Reid went to win 2 with the Chiefs. So he's laughing at us that way. I mean, even though he was definitely putting his chest out this past season with like, hey, you guys fired me, I'm gonna take a championship from you guys. So
yeah,
but again, I think we're gonna see that rematch again. If not in this next Super Bowl, it's gonna happen again.
I think he said in the next 5, which I would buy into that for sure.
Yeah, you're gonna see that championship battle again for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Especially our defense after the draft, everyone's like, that's not even fair, and I'm like, yes, I love it. People are not thrilled about how strong our team's looking going into next season. But we also have a pretty tough schedule from what I've seen. So hey,
yeah, it's gonna be a test, like we've said. I mean, it's definitely gonna be a test for this year because we got a lot of teams that we haven't played in a while, and I think this season is definitely a little bit more tougher than last season. A lot of people are saying, obviously, like, oh, we got to the championship, but we had a pretty easy season to get into the playoffs and blah blah blah. So again, they're gonna put Jalen Hurts under a microscope and see, oh, is he really that great of a quarterback, or did he just have an easy season and everything? So
yeah,
but I think he'll definitely prove them. He'll definitely prove some people that they're definitely not going to be 14-0 again. I'll at least get that. Like I think we said, like at least 10 to 12 games I could see them winning.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought here. I think we kind of segued into the Eagles and the coaching from Andy Reid to Chip Kelly, disaster. Doug Peterson, we had for, I think, do we have him for a year before they won a Super Bowl?
We had, yeah.
I think
a year or two.
I think we only had him for 1 year after the win because instead of us like staying in that lane,
Yeah.
we just tanked bad, right?
Did
And
we? I think we
it's
got rid of him 2 seasons after that, because we won in
okay.
2017, 2018, came back for 2018-2019 season, got to the playoffs, and then Carson Wentz, he got hurt in the playoffs.
Well, and that's when Nick Foles
lost the playoff game.
So, are you talking about after we won?
Yeah, after we won. That next season, he got hurt in the playoff game. Foles tried to come in, win it. We didn't get it. We lost to the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
Then that following season, that's when Carson got benched and Jalen Hurts came in.
Okay.
Then I think that's when Wentz got let go, and then
Doug Peterson.
in that same they both left after that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and then Sirianni came in, and
I mean, did pretty good the first season, I think, and then then coming into this season.
Yeah. He seems like a no BS type of guy now, right? Whereas I think the first year he was just like trying to like figure everything out. Now he's just like zero tolerance, right? Which I think is great.
And I'll be looking at him under the microscope too, because a lot of critics from what I've read were saying like, oh, well, this would be a big season for Sirianni too, because like he had a lot of people around him. So they're going to say, oh, well, is he actually a good coach, or did he just have a good organizational team around him to make him look good? Because almost they got like a whole, pretty much a whole new coaching staff. So it's pretty much learning a whole bunch of new coaches and everything. So can they replicate this season, or is it going to be like another, learning experience to try to, get everybody on the same page, blah, blah, blah. But, I think this Eagles team, and again, we did really good in the draft. So I have nothing but high hopes for this season. I'm not even thinking championship. We're definitely going to be in the playoffs. We'll have to see how we are going into playoffs at the time. Once we get into November, December, we'll see where we are at that moment. And then we can start really seeing, okay, do we see ourselves winning the championship, or is it going to be like tough road into it? So we'll have to see around that time what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, I think it was last season where it was like mid-November to mid-December was like the toughest part of the schedule. So it was really difficult to like try to project like, okay, if we're doing good early on and we've already played like the hardest of teams, then it should be a little bit more smooth sailing, right? But
yeah,
throwing the challenges in towards the end of the season just keeps it interesting. It's like, okay, that's also like if you start with the easier teams and you can get those wins and build the confidence, then you can enter those harder games later on in the season instead of like walking into it cold with like barely any wins under your belt or barely any losses and just being like, okay, this could go either way. So I think them having the momentum going into those tougher games last year definitely helped, right? For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, weren't they 14-3 last season?
At the end of going into the game, yeah, I think they were 14-3 because I mean they won all their playoff games, and I think they came into the playoffs regular season with 14 wins.
They had 3 regular season losses, and I'm pretty sure 2 of them were when Hurts was out and Minshew was in covering for him.
Yeah, 2 of those were because when Hurts was out, and did they lose to the Chicago Bears? Or I think Hurts did pull out the game. He was hurt that game. He didn't play those next 2 games after the Chicago game. I think he did pull out the win.
They lost to the Commanders when the Commanders were in Philly. I remember that because I was like, you lost to Carson Wentz in Philly. Come on.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
so that was the one. And then we won those. We lost those two back to back, like leading into the end of the season. We're like, ugh, come on. But I think at least it was like one of those things. Like it didn't hurt us, but it didn't make us look good going into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah. So I was mentioning last week with something that we can probably segue from this out. We talk a lot of sports. We talk a lot about music and dance, and we recently talked about trying to talk about indulging ourselves into the comedy scene, and try to at least do like a set, blah blah blah. If you guys want to hear that, check out our past episodes. But I was thinking something like this last week, that when I'm either doing something like, whether it's like fly fishing, getting into like some type of new hobby, whether it's like fly fishing, going golf, or trying to learn a new sport, like I have to be all in on it or nothing at all. Like I have to buy like the gear. I have to, read up on it. Like when we were talking about, trying to start doing like a comedy set, like I'm on the internet saying like, okay, not necessarily like, how do you write a comedy set? But like, I'm trying to like, learn sort of like, how's the proper way to like write a joke, or like, how do you write a comedy joke? Like, because it's not like you can just go up there and just start riffing and thinking that you're just going to have an awesome set, because, sometimes you can just say things that you think are funny, but then it just doesn't register to people. So my question to you is like, when you're getting into like a new hobby of something, like, do you feel like, again, trying to get like examples that makes it a little bit easier to understand. Like when I first got into like fly fishing, I felt, okay, I wasn't going to buy everything of expensive gear, but like I wanted to like indulge myself in the whole thing. So I had to get the rod, get the waders, get everything to like make myself presentable, to look like I actually fly fish. If I'm playing basketball, got to get the gear, the shoes and everything. Make it like, hey, I play basketball. Like, is that something that, like, if you're going into like a new hobby or trying to learn something, do you feel like you got to do that too? Or you're just like, all right, I'll just try it. I feel like that's something like for me, like, I feel like I always have to like be all in or nothing at all when I'm trying to learn something.
Yeah. So a good example, I think for me, and this is actually just kind of explaining maybe in part why it didn't exactly like pursue in the way, right? When I was starting to learn how to play guitar like a couple years ago, you and I were talking, and I was sending you these guitars that I wanted to buy that were like $600 to $1,200, because I was like, hey, if I want to start learning how to play, I want to have a guitar that I could be proud of, that I could be like, wow, this is my first guitar and I'm learning on this. And
right.
So I was talking, a friend of mine actually talked me out of it. She was like, someone's probably getting rid of one like on Facebook Marketplace for cheap. Why don't you start there? So I literally paid $75 for like a hand-me-down that, I mean, it was it's a Fender Starcaster. Which is not it's not a Strat. It's like the training wheels version, I guess.
Yeah.
Granted, I was practicing and playing for about a week, and then I don't know if it was like just me being hunched over for too long at one point, but like it tweaked out my neck to the point where my neck wasn't right for like 6 weeks. I had trouble spotting my students like teaching, So I would try to minimize that because, I'm spotting them on back handsprings. They're jumping and I'm like using all of the pressure to
Yeah.
support them. And it just took forever for that to heal. And then I guess in that process, I just like lost all of the inspiration and motivation to play
Inspiration.
because I was in it. And
Yeah.
you were teaching me like the basics and stuff. And I was like practicing. And then I like never really got back into it. And I don't know if I want to say if I had bought like a higher end guitar that it would have inspired me to pick it up again sooner. But I've just kind of been like, all right, well, it's there. So when I get around to it, cool, I'll do it kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think it's in those type of situations too. It's like, if you see the progress happening, like pretty well, like, happening like every time you pick it up, you're seeing some type of, progress every single time. It's going to inspire you to keep on learning it when, especially with guitar, like if people don't see results right away, it's going to be like, oh, well, this sucks. I'm just going to put it down. But if like you have like little things here and there, it's going to make you want to continue to pick it up.
Yeah, I forget what I was playing. I had it hooked up to like I have like a little amp system over there, which helps because I'm learning to play electric, not acoustic.
You were playing Tears for Fears.
Yeah, that's what it was. Because
Tears for Fears, everybody wants to rule the world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a simple little like strum gig, and you don't have to like shift too much. But I was like practicing it, and my mom heard me from upstairs, and she was like, listening to Tears for Fears down there. I was like, how's me playing actually? She's like, what? I was like, yeah, well, because I was like, I think, and like you said, it takes like hitting really like little milestones to like keep you inspired.
Yeah.
And I think it was because I was like, okay, I'm literally just going to focus on this like for 10, 15 minutes of practice session. And I did it every day until like I didn't have to stare down at my one hand, like at the strumming hand, which right hand. I didn't have to look down. I was trying to like practice looking up and away and just like trying to find the muscle memory for knowing where my strumming hand is going on which string kind of thing. So, but yeah, I think, I wanted to learn how to tap dance. And I think I talked about that maybe in one of the first episodes. Like I did it for maybe a month. And because it like getting good at tap takes so long and it takes so much patience and discipline. I'm sure it's like learning to play a guitar, and like you can get okay at it in a year or two's time. It just depends on how many hours a week you can put into it, right? So
yeah, for sure.
I fell out of tap quick because I was taking like one class a week for 45 minutes, and I just felt like I felt like over a month's time I didn't get anywhere. I was like, I still feel like I'm slipping all over the place because like you got to learn how to navigate the traction with the taps on the floor and not feel like you're sliding all over the place kind of thing. I mean, there is a balance to it too. So there's a balance to it as well. Which I don't want to say that there isn't, because there are definitely like younger kids that can tap that don't have a lot of ballet training. But again, that just changes like kid to kid, student to student. Like just knowing how to manage your feet underneath of you. I mean, it's not really much different with like watching like fellow basketball players of yours growing up. Like as kids, like some kids could just fly around confidently and they knew what they were doing, and some were just like trying to think technique and like trying to analyze like, okay, like you don't want to be staring down at the ball. You want to have your eyes all around the court, make sure you know where everyone is, kind of thing, right? I mean, you can speak to that. You can speak to that more than I can. Again, Some
Yeah,
people just
absolutely. Because I mean, especially in like game situations, like when you're playing outside pickup games, like you're not really thinking about a lot of things. And sometimes, like for me, like pickup games, I was a lot more free. But then, I would go and play basketball for the school, and I would freeze up because you like this is like more organized and it's more professional, but not professional. But like you're in a live setting with people. Pickup games, you're just playing with your friends, and you have
it's
a little bit more.
it's usually like 2-on-2 or 3-on-3, whereas
Yeah,
you're playing a game that's 5-on-5. You have a lot more people to navigate, right? So a little bit more pressure on that front,
yeah.
right?
And you don't have to worry about like, okay, well, we're setting this play, and you're not always like the main focus. You're making sure you're at your spots, and hitting your waiting for your shot, or making a play for another person.
Oh,
And if you're not in the game, you're knowing when you're going to be coming in or not. So it's a lot more a lot more thinking and a lot more preparation than just going on a court outside and just being like, okay, well, there's no organization here. You're just kind of playing whatever. There's no, okay, going down the court, call out the play, dudes. Like, unless you have like a set of 5 friends that you have an organized like play that you guys always do, which is weird. I've never been on a outside court with a set of dudes that just have a set number of plays. That'd be kind of weird.
right. Okay. What are we thinking? Statue of Liberty or Groundhog's Day? And then everyone just stares at you, and you're like, okay, good. And then just break. That's it.
Okay,
Because
good.
there's no preset plays at all, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think like circling back into it, it's like the initial question. It's more. I think for me, it's like more of a set of like professionalism. Like I feel like when I'm like getting into something new, like okay, like I want to be as professional with it as possible. Like instead of looking like an amateur, I try not to look like an amateur doing it, even though if I am. So.
Right.
And like you were just saying, it's more like same thing like with us starting this podcast, like you said, right?
Yeah. I mean, like you had your podcast before this, so you already had like experience in like the editing department, like you had equipment, you obviously had mics from playing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then I don't know if you got like the camera just for the Table Talk podcast, or if you already had one. But yeah, when we started, it was literally just me. I was sitting over there on the green wall with literally just the laptop like perched up and open. And I mean, I've had these headphones for like 17 years and they've been so good to me. Shout out Beats headphones.
Shut up, Beats.
Yeah, literally.
Like, if you want to sponsor us, then we know that you do.
Love you, Dr. J. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, I had the headphones.
He just declined our offer.
It's all good. But I didn't have, like, you grabbed the mic and then you had an extra cam. So now at least audibly and visually, like, because we're doing the majority of our episodes virtually, you know, it at least helps to look consistent and sound consistent, right? Especially for anyone tuning in that is just listening to audio and not watching the video episode, right? At least the audio should be a little bit more uniform, universal,
crisp.
Yeah, nice, right?
Yeah, and to go off that too, like, you know, especially with like music, I've always again, the video, like, I don't know how video production really goes, but like it's just been like a lot of like trial and error and cause and effect, and like I always try to look more professional at something instead of trying to look amateur, even though I may be either an amateur, intermediate, or something at something. Like I try to portray myself as, somebody that like has probably been doing it for a little bit, and then I think that kind of inspires me to get better at said thing, because if I'm like, you know uh I we don't have the money to build our own big studio at this thing, but if we can be on the same audio quality as like our competitors, and if we can, you know we don't have money to buy big professional video equipment, but we both have webcams that are going to do just that and fine. We can do our different camera angles just from makeshift. So if we can, you know, do the little things and kind of make it just as good, you know, just like anything with people watching podcasts, 9 times out of 10, if you're a video podcast, but if you may not have the best video quality, but if you have great audio, people are probably still going to tune in, because audio seems to be the one that people will not tune into more than if they'll still tune into a video podcast with bad video but good audio, but they won't tune in if it's good video but not so great audio.
Right. And I think it's
If I said
important
that right.
because it's important to acknowledge podcasts they really rely on the audio content. Like if it's a podcast of like just visual where the audio didn't matter, that's not a podcast, that's a slideshow, right? So I think
perfect. Yeah.
I think what you're saying is like, and literally did this just today, where like I was watching a podcast episode, but then I was like, all right, let me get up and like do some chores around the room real quick, like put some clothes away, and I still just listened because I could still hear what they were talking about, and I didn't have to see the people sitting there talking about it, because it's not like they, I think it helps to see the people having the conversation about it, but you could get up and do something that you need to do and still hear it. But if the audio quality is compromised and the video quality is superior, like you said, that doesn't really read. If it doesn't sound decent, then people are going to be like, oh, geez, figure that out, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like I do that with Rogan a lot. I'll watch his video podcast, but if I'm just like you said, if I'm going in the other room and stuff, I'll just be listening to the audio of it while the video is in the other room. So his audio is still crisp and clear. So I don't feel like, unless they have something visually that you have to see at the moment, I'll run back over. But, that kind of proves the point that, audio is definitely, really, really important when it comes to podcasting. So it's been stellar to the point where we've come from like us just shooting in a room to now we both have mics, and like I said, we're both consistently on mics every week now too. So just making minor adjustments to everything as we continue to do this week and week on end.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being nervous the first couple times just because like I am not a fluent talker. So I'm like, why did I have this idea again? But now I feel like if anything, and this is where it's like, hey, if you try something new and you feel like you're not becoming the absolute best at that particular thing, at least find something to take from it. And it's, I think for me, been like it's made having conversation like a little easier for me, because I'm not like an incredibly social person. I mean, I can be, like, if it's having conversation about things that I am familiar with. But if someone's talking to me about like something that I really don't know about, and they don't know how to lead the conversation, I can't just BS my way through it. Like, I'm just not wired for it. I'll be like, I'll totally
Yeah.
listen, and I'll ask questions and be interested. But if I can't find a way to relate what they're talking about to something that I can speak to, I'm lost. I'm like,
Yeah. I agree.
sweet, and it's like I don't want to like change the subject or take it to another place if that person, whoever it might be, someone older that's got a lot of experience. There might be someone younger that is like different generation and like their view of the world is totally different from like ours kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or it could even be someone like close to our age, but like their life is on a completely different path. Like I run into this with people who have kids because I'm like, I try to relate and be like, oh, well, I don't have kids, but I work with kids and I see family dynamics
Right.
all the time. So it's like, it's just one of those things where I'm like, I know like a lot of parents are sensitive to the idea of other adults that don't have kids trying to like
Mhm.
come in and talk about it. So I really just try not to. I just try to
Yeah.
enjoy like the things that I'm seeing and the stories that I hear, like even from you. Like I was talking to someone who has a kid maybe a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to be like it like from someone who's not a parent, and like that's always how I lead in because I want to protect myself and not sound like, hey, maybe you should try this. Have you thought about doing this?
Yeah.
Because like you can't say that without you can't even try to say it without them being like, yeah, you don't know how you would handle this situation until you have one of your own, and then you'd have to navigate it from experience yourself, kind of thing. You know. But yeah,
Absolutely.
just pulling back, just knowing how to talk, I think is one. And by how to talk, I mean a little more fluently, a little bit more confidently, where it's kind of like I'm not feeling socially anxious immediately walking into a situation. I'm just kind of like, hey, what's going on? Like rather than like feeling like I have to present myself in a way like or with a certain type of energy. I think I'm a little bit more laid back about it now, which is nice. So
Yeah, I gotta agree with that because I've definitely been in that situation where I'm more reluctant sometimes. Like if I'm talking to somebody and it's like they're talking about something that I may not be fluent in or something I'm not necessarily not interested in, but like I'll be more like if I'm not talking about music or something with people that are kind of like people I don't usually talk to, I feel like I don't never know what to talk to. So usually music is something that I am on the forefront about always talking about because I can talk about it for hours, just like you. I mean, you can talk about dance for hours, but if it's something, something outside of that realm or something that you're not interested in, you're like you said, cool. All right, yeah, doing the like laugh to kind of keep the conversation going, but you're like, all right, you can leave,
or
like,
the ever infamous. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of like how I talk to my wife, but yeah, yeah, that's crazy, man. I'm gonna go now.
Okay, cut.
That's crazy. Okay, cut.
I was just thinking. No, I know that you're completely you were completely joking by saying that, but it just made me think
completely
of
joking.
Yeah, when you were thinking of or when you were thinking, I was thinking of that one Family Guy episode where it's like the end of the episode and it's like Lois is just running his mouth to Peter and it's just showing like the little thought bubble pop up where he's like basically burying her and then he just go and then the bubble goes away and he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then now
what's the
yeah,
episode
like,
where it just goes into like the sound bubble like I'm a tumor, 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 I'm a tumor.
That's
I'm not sure if it was that same one that you were talking about.
I feel like that's in the Stewie movie, but I might be wrong. I haven't seen the Stewie movie in a long time, But that's
Yeah.
They were like, oh, Peter, you shouldn't repress your thoughts. That's not healthy for you. He's like, yeah, hey, what's the worst that can happen? And then it zooms into his brain, and then the brain's going, I'm a tumor, I'm a tumor, I'm a tumor, I'm a tumor, I'm a tumor. Yeah.
Dude, next month we're gonna have to get back into doing the watch long polls. I mean, we apologize everybody for not doing the watch long polls in a little while. It's life's kind of gotten a little cray a little bit. But next month we should get back into doing the watch long polls. So maybe we can ask our audience or the listeners who are watching now. We usually do a couple categories or just a couple different ones for the poll. Write down in the comments of the video some, either a movie, TV show, TV series. It could be a comedy special, could be some other type of small special. Write down something in the comments, something that you would want us to watch. We're going to put up in a poll next month. We're going to put it up. We usually put it up for like 2 weeks, give everybody a chance to vote on it. Whatever that vote is, we do the watch long poll. And then since we have our Patreon up, we will be doing that, and you guys can watch it live with us on the Patreon as we record it. So, and with the Patreon, you guys are able to get a 1-week trial. So, we'll definitely get that up and running, next month, because usually we like to start in the beginning of the next month of the beginning of the month, and then at the end of the month have everything come up. So, write something in the comments what you would want us to watch. We'll throw it up in a poll, and we'll see what we can get to for next month.
Yeah, I mean, I think our last watch along, we didn't even poll. We're just like, yeah, no, this is the watch along. This is the one we're doing it, this time around.
The last one that was a poll was the author one.
Yeah, and the 51st Dates one was before that, right? That was our March watch along, which was like based off the February poll. And I can't even believe it's like the middle of June already. It's just the last.
I know. Yeah.
The last 6 to 7 weeks, they were like mildly brutal in my personal life, but also, with the end of the school year, like for my job comes like the recital season stuff. So I was very tapped into that in the workspace. Yeah, we had to pull a couple audibles a couple times based off of certain circumstances and move some things around that we had planned. So we apologize for some of like the consistent schedule type stuff. Maybe not.
We should be able to get another in person in. I think we should probably be able to get another in person in maybe next month too. Maybe. So I think we're looking into getting a special in person episode in. So be on the lookout for that too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, episode 70 was supposed to be an in person, and that was May 5th. So I think the next one, I thought it was in August, but I'm not seeing. Yeah, here's one set. Episode 90, September 22nd. So it must be okay. July 14th is supposed to be episode 80, but that just means.
Yeah.
And we usually record those a couple weeks in advance. So you and I have to maybe start thinking like in the next 2 to 3 weekends, like, hey, where's a good fit to make that happen?
Yeah.
And we got to decide on our wardrobe, right? Are we doing the red and green again, or are we changing that up? I think we can change it up.
We'll think about it. Yeah, we could probably change it up. Yeah, we'll think about something.
I mean, if anything, we could just switch colors.
That too. And again, maybe we'll talk about it more on the Patreon. You guys hit us up on Patreon, and maybe we'll get the Patreons to figure out what they want to see us wear, and we'll wear what the Patreon people want us to wear. Kind of scared about that, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to think about that one.
Yeah.
Oy vey. Yee. Dude, anything else we want to get into? I know this feels.
I think we can wrap it up here a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's a little shorter of an episode, but we also ran into a technical difficulty in the middle of it, so it is almost 1:00. I know we were talking off air about some wrestling things. I think that we can wait and get into that another time, because it's all very much just setting up for Money in the Bank, which by the time this episode is out on June 15th, 16th, on the 16th. Sorry, Friday the 16th.
Correct.
That pay-per-view will be 15 days after that, so 2 weeks after the Saturday. So we can hold off on that one for whether it's the week of, which is fine by me, because we'll talk about it, maybe like the predictions going in, and then the following week we'll do the results after the fact, and that way we're not oversaturating with wrestling talk. We're not going to have any sports talk unless it's baseball for the next 13 weeks, because I think NFL...
Something like that, yeah.
NFL doesn't start until early August. Yeah. So I know the Stanley Cup final is still going on, but I'm pretty sure the Vegas Knights are one game away from winning that. So by the time that this posts, that might be done even.
That might probably, it might be, yeah.
I mean, if anything, it'll be done before our next recording, definitely.
For sure.
Yeah, Vegas Knights are leading the Florida Panthers 3-1, and they have. Let me see. Yeah, game 5. Yeah, game 5 is Tuesday, the 13th, and then game 6 is, if needed, Friday the 16th, and then game 7, if needed, is Monday the 19th. So, like, I don't even think it's going to 7 games, just because, I mean, the Florida, from what Bill Burr was saying on his podcast, the Florida, it is the Florida Panthers, I believe, right? It's
I am like not into hockey as much to know if that's right or not.
Yeah, it's the Florida Panthers. I just remember.
Okay.
I remember when Vegas first, like, the Vegas Knights first became a thing. I want to say like 5 years ago. It was.
Yeah.
I don't quote me on that, anyone. And again, casual sports fan here. But yeah, I think hockey is going to be wrapping up. So it's literally just baseball, and I think golf is kind of a thing right now. But I don't particularly watch golf like that. Our one buddy Mike, one of the Mikes, shout out, is an avid golfer. He loves to golf, and like for fun. Like he doesn't.
I haven't golfed in forever. I love watching the Masters here and there, but I did golf for my senior year. I was horrible, but I loved playing, and I love going to like the chip and putts and everything. They're so fun, and I have yet to go to Top Golf. We need to do like a Top Golf night eventually. That would be so fun.
I need to learn how to swing a freaking club first, right?
All the more we need to go to Top Golf.
Yeah, my buddy Mike has been trying to get me to go golfing with him, and I'm like, I'm open to it, but
I'd totally be down for some golf.
Yeah. So, I
it's
definitely
really
want to dabble.
It's so fun.
I want to try that. You got me into the fly fishing thing, which, I'll go with you 3 or 4 times a season. Yeah. Which, now that my schedule.
Speaking of that, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but the fishing thing just reminded me. I mean, this is Father's Day weekend, so before we wrap up, happy Father's Day out there to all the fathers and the dads out there. I usually go fishing on Father's Day with my dad, but it's going to be raining that day, so we might be going Saturday. I'm not sure where. We just got some rain today, so that's gonna pump up the creeks a little bit because we haven't had rain in like I think almost like a month or two, it seemed. So we had some much needed rain today.
You said we had some rain today. We had a lot of rain today, by the way.
Yeah, did I say
rained,
some? I meant a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's weird because my parents' backyard had like the property that this house was built on is it's like the water retention base. So it's like there's like a sewer outlet that comes in like from the street that comes out into our backyard. So it usually fills up to like this little pond that stretches from my one neighbor's yard across mine. Like could totally take our little tiny rinky-dink boat across it and just paddle. It didn't get to that point today, but it built up quick, and then it slowed down, and then it wasn't a thing. But yeah, absolutely. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Hope you all get to enjoy, being a father in whatever way that means. If it means getting to spend time as much time with your kids or with your father, or catching a break. However you would like
for
to
2
enjoy
minutes.
it for 2 minutes. Yeah. However that means for you, I hope you have a good one. Yeah. And
man.
you want to sign off on this one?
Yeah, guys, thanks again for tuning in. Always check us out on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe here to YouTube. Hit the like button. Put a comment in there. It helps us with the channel. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you follow and subscribe. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Pick up some merch at our merch. It's in the description of the YouTube channel and on our Spotify and Apple Podcast networks. And if you want more bonus content, we have a couple hours worth of bonus content on our Patreon. Go to Patreon, start your 7-day trial right now at patreon.com/onesetpod. Brother, just want to say I love you. Thank you again. And, we'll be seeing you guys on the next episode.
Love you too, bro. Love everyone. Take care.